Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and to my new studio. That's right, I'm moving up in the world. I've finally got a different space for my recording that I don't sleep in. Look, you can't even see my bed back there. I mean, it's like 6 feet off camera that way, but small improvements, right? Anyway, PlayStation finally laid out all the details for their new Gamepass killer called Project Spartacus, and frankly, the name is the only thing about it that I like, so let's talk about it. So it turns out that the long-fabled Project Spartacus that we've been hearing about for what feels like a year now is not actually an entirely new subscription service. It is instead just a rebranding of PS Plus. It comes in 3 different tiers, and I think the best way to break down exactly how and where and why I am disappointed in this is going to be just to go tier by tier and sort of tell you my thoughts as I go. So tier 1 is called PS Plus Essential, which I assume is to say it is essentially just PS Plus as you know it. You get the multiplayer access, which I am a big proponent should be free. That's not a specific dunk on PlayStation. Nintendo and Xbox need to make it free as well, but regardless, you get access to cloud storage, again, which should be free. You get the free downloadable games, which for PlayStation are actually occasionally worthwhile, unlike the other two. And you get all of that for $9.99 a month or $59.99 a year. So the same price as Game Pass, and more importantly, still the same price that PS Plus was before. It's completely unchanged from the previous version of PS Plus, except that it has the word essential in the title. So if you had PS Plus before and you get this, nothing will change for you. It's very hard to have an opinion about this one. So tier 2 is called PS Plus Extra, and it's where things start to change, but not for the better. The extra in question is just PS Now, except it's not PS Now as you knew it, it's a sort of neutered version, which is saying something because PS Now is already not a very good service. The catalog is pretty lackluster, the streaming straight up does not work for me or for anyone I've spoken to about it. But let's talk about what they actually promise. So they're saying that this version of PS Now, or PS Plus Extra rather, will give you access to a catalog of 400 games. Now weirdly, they specifically quote that it's going to be a library of PS4 and PS5 games, which means that they have taken out all of the PS3, PS2, and PS1 games that were in PS Now before, and have put that somewhere else that we'll talk about later. That being said, if there is a catalog of 400 games from the PS4 and PS5, I would be very interested in seeing what that catalog is, because frankly, I don't think I could name 400 games from the PS4 generation, and the PS5 generation has just started. Games that are worthwhile, that is. So I worry that it's going to be a lot of like very small indies or just straight up shovelware just to get that number up. But we'll see. And so you get that for $14.99 a month or $99.99 a year, which is the same price monthly as Game Pass Ultimate, but it is cheaper for the full year because Xbox doesn't do a thing where you can just buy the whole year and get a discount. They do other things where you can like get a month for $1 and then stretch that out. But regardless, so depending on how you do it, it could be either the same or less than Game Pass Ultimate in terms of price. But considering that Game Pass Ultimate gives you a full catalog of games ranging from the original Xbox all the way up to current games, and you can play that on your Xbox, your PC, your mobile phone, you get all the cloud streaming and everything from the previous tier for free. This tier seems very hollow. And the reason that we're going to see that is the case is because a lot of the things that I feel should be in this tier have been moved into the third one. So the third and final tier of this service is called PS Plus Premium, and straight up, this tier should just not exist. It is honestly offensively bad. Let me explain. So you obviously get all of the things from the previous tiers, right? You get all the normal PS Plus things. You get that catalog of PS4 and PS5 games. But all that this third and highest paying tier adds for you is an additional 340 games to the catalog that all come from the PS3, which apparently those ones still can only be streamed. So I guess we haven't figured that one out. The PS1, the PS2, and the PSP. And of those four systems, I have to assume that the majority of it is going to come from the PS3 catalog, because PS1 and PS2 are probably far back enough that the majority of those games are probably pretty tough to track down who actually owns licenses for that to get it, legally put on your service. And the PSP is just not going to hold up its end of the bargain. There's not many games on the PSP, and of the ones that there are, there's only one that's worth playing, and that's Persona 4 Golden. So I'm not really sure that that's an ad. Maybe if regular Persona 4 isn't on there, I don't know, whatever. But those of you who are realizing what I'm saying will have already figured out that the thing that they hid behind the highest paywall on their new service is backwards compatibility. You cannot take a PS3 game or a PS2 game and put it into your PS5 and play it like you can on Xbox. And not only that, you cannot go to the store, like the PlayStation store, not like GameStop, and digitally buy the game to play it if you just want the one game like you can on Xbox. You have to pay this monthly fee, and on top of that, you have to just hope that it's not one of the ones that can only be streamed, because PS Now straight up does not work. Like, streaming a game over PS Now is one of the chuggiest, terrible game playing experiences that I've ever had. And it's so irritating to me that they are finally doing some level of backwards compatibility, but making you pay for it. Because Jim Ryan is the person who consistently came out and said that no one plays old games. If no one plays old games, why are you charging an additional fee to the people who want to? By Jim Ryan's own thinking, no one should pay for this tier of the service, because the only other thing that it adds, other than a really shitty version of backwards compatibility, is access to timed game trials, which is just a really wordy way of saying demos. And demos are just an advertisement for the game. It gives you the ability to play the game for a short amount of time while you decide whether or not you want to go and spend $70 to get the whole thing. That's right, you're not getting day one releases in PS Plus Premium like you get in Gamepass. You're not getting the ability to play these games on your PC or your mobile device or anything like that. No. The only thing you're getting is backwards compatibility and demos. It's absolutely ludicrous, but I shouldn't be surprised that Jim Ryan was evidently talking out the side of his mouth when he was saying that nobody plays old games, because he's also the same person who has gone on record multiple times and said live service games are the future, not subscription services. And then here he is announcing a brand new subscription service. I mean, granted, it's really just a rebrand of PS Plus, but you just absolutely cannot trust a single thing this man says. And no one on the planet should sign up for this tier of PS Plus, because the only thing you're getting are two things that should be free: backwards compatibility and demos. So just a couple other things that I want to mention about this service is, one, we don't know almost any of the games that are going into this catalog, right? I mean, they say that there's 400 games from the PS4 and PS5 and an additional 340 from the previous generations of games, and that's a big number. And yet the only ones that they've announced as being in this catalog of games are Death Stranding, God of War, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Mortal Kombat 11, and Returnal. most of which are already in the PS Plus collection that you get for free if you have PS Plus on a PS5. So I'm not really sure why they even bothered announcing about half of those as being in this system, because like everyone would already have them. Also, these are like massively popular games, so if you're a hardcore gamer, which are the only people who are probably even gonna know that this service exists for the first like year, will have already played probably 90% of those games. Secondly, is I really want to break down this quote from Jim Ryan, because it's the one he gives as to why they cannot put their games day and date in this new service, right? He says, "We feel if we were to do that with the games that we make at PlayStation Studios, that virtuous cycle will be broken. The level of investment that we need to make in our studios would not be possible, and we think the knock-on effect on the quality of the games that we make would not be something that gamers want." So let's take a look at that. First of all, if anyone calls their game development system a virtuous cycle, you should immediately see that as a red flag. That's like you go home with a boy and he tries to sleep with his socks on, right? That's a red flag. You cannot trust anybody who uses terms like that. Secondly, they say the level of investment that we need to make in our studios would not be possible. So he's saying that if they put their games into a subscription service, that they would make the choice to not spend as much money in making those games, which makes no sense at all. He's like, well, if we had a subscription service, then we would make worse games. Give me one reason why. Why would putting your games in a subscription service mean that you just don't put as much money into it? Is it because Jim Ryan specifically would not feel justified in doing that? Because that doesn't make any sense. Just make the same games. And then, the last bit here, we think the knock-on effect on the quality of the games that we would make would not be something that gamers would want. So he's saying that games in subscription services are worse. And he's almost saying it like a threat. Like, don't push me to put my games into the subscription service or my games will be worse, which is a really bold thing to say. Right after they just came out of 2021 when Xbox whipped their ass and they were named Publisher of the Year because all of their games, which were all in Gamepass, by the way, were the highest rated games of the year and came to the highest average review score of the entire year. And not only that, but it was also the highest average review score of any publisher for any year ever. That's not a joke. That's not hyperbole. That's just raw numbers. It's just a fact, you know? So literally, he's throwing out this quote and not thinking about what he's saying and hoping that nobody will think about it, that nobody else will think about it either. He's, I think, just saying or hoping that if he says something, people will assume that it's smart because he's in a position of leadership, which is not how that works. If anything, it's the opposite. So it's, you don't get day and date games. You can't play on other platforms. The catalog is a mystery, although the number is big. So this is not a Game Pass killer. It's not even a Game Pass competitor. It's just a lazy attempt to capitalize on Game Pass's success. And if you think that I'm making that up, let's look at the name that they gave to the project of this. Project Spartacus. What's the one scene from Spartacus that everyone knows? It's the bit where Spartacus stands up because I think it's the Romans, I haven't actually seen the movie, come up and they're trying to find the guy who they're going to execute, basically. And they're like, who's Spartacus? And he's like, I'm Spartacus. And then everyone else stands up and they're like, I'm Spartacus. Actually, I am Spartacus. And they're all like, you know, trying to deflect the blame onto themselves. Except in this case, Game Pass stood up and they said, we're a really great subscription service. And then Jim Ryan stood up way in the back and he was like, we're Game Pass too. And it's like, he's just trying to ride the coattails of Game Pass without putting any effort into it whatsoever. It's it's not it's not like in the movie where they're saying I am Spartacus to in this like act of bravery. No. This is a desperate hope that if they say it loud enough, someone might actually believe them. Now, I'm not trying to tell any of you guys how to spend your money, but for me personally, I don't think that this service is worth it. And I don't understand why anybody would subscribe to this new version of PS Plus above the first tier, maybe the second at a push. Really, that third tier should just be condensed into the second one and we should just call it a day there. But please let me know what you guys think about all this down in the comments below. I would genuinely really like to hear it because outside of like 2 of my friends on Discord, I really haven't talked to anyone about this or heard any opinions on it. So maybe I'm completely off base, and I'd love for you to tell me whether or not I am. But also, if you like this video, of course, do all of the things that the YouTubers tell you to do. Like it, share it with a friend, subscribe to the channel. We're very close to 300 subscribers, and I would be thrilled to hit that in the next month. So if you haven't subscribed, maybe please subscribe. Maybe tell your friends to subscribe. But anyway, until next time, I'll see you around.